Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video.
Well, I knew that Walt was very nervous that he was going to come backstage and visit me.
There was a secret she kept for 60 years behind that beautiful smile. Now that she is 89, Julie Andrews is finally telling the truth about what happened when she lost her famous voice. You won't believe what she's been hiding all these years about her marriage to Blake Edwards, and the most painful thing she feels she did wrong. Julie Andrews was born Julia Elizabeth Wells on October 1, 1935. Her mother, Barbara Ward Morris, was a talented pianist who had once wanted to act on stage, and her father, Edward Charles Wells, was a teacher. They were married for a while, but in 1943, World War II broke out, ending their marriage. Barbara married Ted Andrews, a Canadian-born vaudeville performer. This marriage changed everything for young Julie. Ted and Barbara toured England entertaining soldiers, and Julie was introduced to the world of music and performance. At 14, she discovered a secret that had been kept from her all her life. Edward Wells was not her biological father. Her mother had an affair with a family friend, and he was Julie's real father. The news was shocking, but it didn't change her bond with Edward Wells. She remained close to him for the rest of his life. Her stepfather Ted Andrews played a key role in her musical training. He quickly realized she had an extraordinary voice. She had perfect pitch and a vocal range far beyond most children her age. He became her first teacher and helped shape her into a performer. Music and performance ran in her family. Her Aunt Joan owned a dance school. Another relative was a concert artist. From the time she was little, Julie was surrounded by people who lived for the arts. It was no surprise when she showed early signs of talent. Her formal training started when she was 8 years old. She began studying under Madame Lillian Stiles Allen, a respected concert soprano. Stiles Allen thought Julie was a once-in-a-lifetime talent. She often told Julie that she was the reincarnation of Adelina Patti, who was one of the best opera singers of the 1800s. Julie's training was strict, and she focused on perfect diction and emotional expression. She told Julie that he should do amateur works until he gets them right and professional works until he can't go wrong. Julie took these words seriously and trained tirelessly. Lessons with Stiles Allen were intense. Julie traveled alone from London to Leeds to attend them. She stayed in a freezing cold room in a house lit by gas lamps. Despite the difficult conditions, she loved every moment. Evenings were spent drinking homemade ginger beer with her teacher and listening to stories about legendary musicians. This period shaped her voice and discipline. She stayed with Stiles Allen until she moved to America in 1954. At just 12 years old, Julie had her first big break on October 22, 1947. She made her professional debut at the London Hippodromeum in Starlight Roof, a musical revue. She performed Jesuit Titania, a challenging aria from the opera Minang. The audience was stunned. She received a standing ovation. At 12, she had already shown she could hold a stage like a seasoned performer. The show ran for over a year, and Julie became known as Britain's youngest prima donna. In 1948, she performed for King George V, VI, and Queen Elizabeth at the Royal Command variety performance at the London Palladium. She was just 13, no solo performer that young had ever appeared at the event before. While performing in Starlight Roof, she met W. Ali Bow, an American comedian known for making balloon animals on stage. He often brought kids up to help with his act. One night, young Julie stepped up and began singing. The moment was completely unscripted, and the audience loved it. It was a small but unforgettable moment that showed her natural charm. In 1948, Julie made her official West End debut. At just 13, she took on roles in pantomimes and musicals including Aladdin and Humpty Dumpty. One of the most important moments of this period was playing Cinderella. It proved she wasn't just a singer, she had acting talent too. She could bring warmth and humor to a role, making her stand out from other young performers. At the same time she was gaining recognition in radio and television. She became a regular on BBC programs like Up the Pole and Educating Archie. These experiences helped her develop incredible comedic timing. Performing alongside experienced entertainers at such a young age gave her confidence and skills that would be crucial later in her career. Julie Andrews was just 19 when she made her Broadway debut in The Boyfriend on September 30, 1954 at the Royal Theatre. She played Polly Brown, a young girl dreaming of romance on the French Riviera. In the 1920s, the show had already been a hit in London, but Andrews brought something special to the Broadway stage. Her voice was clear and effortless, and her charm made her impossible to ignore. Critics took notice. She won the Theatre World Award for Outstanding Broadway Debut in 1955. Her performance also caught the attention of some very important people. The producers of My Fair Lady were looking for someone to play Eliza Doolittle, a Shenyang flower girl who turns into a sophisticated lady. They needed someone who could handle the role's demanding songs and emotional depth. Andrews got the part, and on March 15, 1956, the show opened on Broadway. The audience saw her change on stage night after night, going from rough and unpolished to graceful and refined. Songs like "I Could Have Danced All Night" and "Wouldn't It Be Lovely" became instant classics. The show ran for 2,717 performances, making it one of the longest-running musicals on Broadway at the time, and Andrews was nominated for her first Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. What many people don't know is that the role was originally offered to a bigger star, Mary Martin, but she turned it down. When it was time to make the movie version of My Fair Lady, Hollywood had other ideas. Instead of casting Andrews, they picked Audrey Hepburn. This was a controversial choice. Although Hepburn's singing voice was dubbed by another singer, Andrews had already shown that she could do the songs perfectly, so many people thought she should have played the part. Instead, she moved on to something even bigger. On December 3, 1960, she starred as Queen Guinevere in Camelot, a musical about King Arthur's legendary kingdom. She played the part alongside Richard Burton as Arthur and Robert Gowl as Lancelot. The show had drama, romance, and heartbreak, and Andrews brought elegance and depth to her role, making her more than just a love interest. During this period, she secured another Tony nomination for Best Actress in a Musical, cementing Camelot's association with John F. Kennedy's presidency. After Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, his widow, Jill Kennedy, called his presidency one brief shining moment that was known as Camelot. Andrews's role in the musical became part of that legacy before Hollywood came calling. Andrews' career went beyond Broadway by March 31, 1957, when she starred in a live broadcast of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella on CBS. The film wasn't a remake of an existing musical, it was written specifically for TV. Over 107 million people watched, which was more than half of the U.S. population at the time. It was a huge hit. Andrews' performance was warm and magical, and the songs became favorites. In 1964, she was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Best Single Performance by an Actress, and she was ready for the movies. Walt Disney had been looking for the perfect actress to play Mary Poppins. He wanted someone with a beautiful singing voice, a strong presence, and a hint of mischief, and Andrews had all of these qualities. The movie came out on August 27, 1964, and made $31 million at the box office. Andrews' performance was flawless, and songs like Supercalifragilisticexcalibur. Andrews got the Oscar for Best Actress. It was a big deal because she beat Audrey Hepburn, who had played her in My Fair Lady. The win showed that Hollywood had seriously underestimated her, and her next movie was even bigger. The Sound of Music opened on March 2, 1965, and made $286 million, making it one of the most successful movies of all time. The movie was based on a true story, and Andrews played Maria von Trapp, a young nun who becomes governess and changes the lives of an Austrian family through music. The opening scene where she twirls on a mountaintop was beautiful to look at but very hard to film. A helicopter was used to get the shot, and the wind from its blades kept knocking her to the ground. She later joked that she was flattened into the grass after every take. The movie won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and made Andrews one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. But success came with a challenge. She had just played 2 beloved nannies in a row, and people were afraid she would be typecast. She knew she had to show she could do more. Later, in 1964, she played a completely different kind of role in the Americanization of Emily. This World War II movie was a sharp and sometimes dark look at patriotism and war. Andrews played Emily Barham, a British widow who falls in love with an American naval officer. It was her first major dramatic part, and it showed she could do more than just sing in musicals. Torn Curtain is a Cold War horror movie directed by Hitchcock. The movie came out on July 14, 1966, and starred Andrews and Paul Newman. Universal Pictures pushed on hiring 2 big stars to make sure the movie would do well at the box office. Hitchcock wasn't completely happy, though. He reportedly thought that both actors were too polished for the gritty spy story he wanted to tell. The film got mixed reviews, but it made $13 million worldwide on a $3 million budget, making it a financial success. Later that same year, Andrews directed Hawaii, an epic historical drama based on James Mayer's novel. It came out on October 10, 1966, with the highest budget of any movie at the time, $15 million. It made $34.5 million in ticket sales in the U.S., making it the highest-grossing movie of the year. Andrews played Jerusha Bramley Hale, a missionary wife who follows her husband to Hawaii in the 19th century. Filming was difficult, with heavy rains and even tidal wave alerts causing constant delays. Even though there were problems, the movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Hawaii surprised everyone by bringing attention to a first-time actor, Jocelyn Laggard, who played a Hawaiian queen. Laggard had never acted before, but she won a Golden Globe for the role, and even though Andrews played the lead, Laggard's performance was one of the most talked-about parts of the movie. In Hollywood, Julie Andrews was one of the biggest stars. In 1964, The Sound of Music made her famous, and in 1965, The Sound of Music made her a legend. She was beautiful, talented, and loved by her fans, but by the late 1960s, things began to change. 2 movies almost ended her career. The first was Star, which came out in 1968 and was a big-budget biopic about the famous stage actor Gertrude Lawrence. The movie had a lot of good things about it. Robert Wise, who directed The Sound of Music, was in charge. The budget was a big $14 million, which was a lot of money at the time. But something went wrong. Critics said Andrews's performance was too staged and forced, some even said it was too hideous, which was harsh for someone who is known for her easy charm. The movie bombed and became one of the biggest losses in Hollywood history. Darling Lily in 1970, along with her husband Blake Edwards. It got even worse with this movie. The price went up to $25 million because of the long reshoots. Andrews tried to change herself by swearing on screen for the first time and performing a strip tease in one scene, which shocked audiences who had always seen her as a good girl. But it didn't work, the film bombed, and audiences didn't connect with it. It was such a big failure that it marked the end of her time as Hollywood's top musical star. Interestingly, Andrews still received Golden Globe nominations for both films, and she was still respected. But that didn't change the fact that Hollywood was moving on, and she had to do something different if she wanted to stay relevant. She turned to TV, and in 1972 she started the Julie Andrews Hour, a variety show that let her show off her skills outside of musicals. ABC believed in her so much that they gave her a 5-year contract, which was unusual at the time. The show started on September 13, 1972, and included musical numbers from her Broadway and movie career as well as comedy and special guests. Critics loved it, praising her charm, voice, and ability to do more than just sing, but the ratings didn't agree. The show aired on Wednesday nights, competing with other major shows. It had trouble finding a big enough audience, and after only 1 season and 24 episodes, ABC canceled it in April 1973. Then, just 1 month later, the Julie Andrews Hour dominated the Emmy Awards, winning 7 out of 10 nominations, including Outstanding Variety Musical Series. Even though the show won awards, it was already over. To make up for it, ABC gave Andrews 5 variety shows between 1973 and 1975. It was a small consolation, but it was clear that her future wasn't in TV. She needed to find a new path, and she did something surprising. She went to nightclubs for someone who was known as the world's most beloved nanny and governess. Even though nightclubs were known for jazz singers and edgy comedians, Andrews did it because she needed to break away from her old image. In these performances, she showed a different side of herself. She sang jazz standards, made jokes about Hollywood, and even made fun of her own old roles. People thought of her as more than just a musical theater star. She was smart, funny, and versatile, and critics praised her for being able to sing both Broadway songs and jazz arrangements. The performances in nightclubs gave her career a fresh start. After almost a decade away from success in the movies, She came back in 1979 with the lead role in 10, a love comedy directed by Blake Edwards and starring Dudley Moore and Bo Derek. The movie was a huge success, making over $74 million in the US. It was exactly what Andrews needed. She then made 2 more risky movies. The first was Sob, a satire about Hollywood, in 1981. In one scene, Andrews shocked everyone by going topless, which was something no one expected from her. It was a statement that she could take risks and wasn't stuck in her past image. The second was Victor Victoria, in 1982, which really changed her career. She played Victoria Grant, a struggling singer who pretends to be Count Victor Grzinski, a male impersonator who worked in Parisian nightclubs. The role was groundbreaking because it explored gender identity and sexuality in ways that Hollywood had never done before. Audiences who had seen her as Maria von Trapp now saw her in a dramatic, complex role. The movie was a critical and commercial success, making $28 million in the US. Andrews won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical and was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. The film itself got 7 Oscar nominations, but what was most important was that it changed how people saw Andrews. She wasn't just the sweet singing governess anymore, she could play a wide range of roles. Julie Andrews's life wasn't just about fame. Behind her fame was a woman who had to deal with love, heartbreak, and personal problems while building a legendary career. She married Tony Walton in 1959, a set and costume designer who had admired her since childhood. They met when Walton saw her perform when she was 11 years old, and soon became friends. Their friendship turned into love, and their marriage was full of creativity. Walton even designed the costumes for one of Andrews's most famous movies, Mary Poppins, in 1962. They had a daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton. Andrews was always working and traveling between Broadway and Hollywood, which took a toll on her relationships. When she and her ex-husband broke up in 1967, Andrews was emotionally drained, so she went to therapy. This was a decision that changed her life. Director Mike Nichols encouraged her to get help, and she did. Therapy helped her deal with what she called the clutter and garbage in her mind. It gave her clarity and the strength to keep going. Years later, she spoke openly about her mental health in the hopes that her story would inspire others. Not long after her divorce, she met director Blake Edwards outside of a therapist's office. Edwards later called it a wonderfully Hollywood moment. They hit it off right away, they had both been through failed marriages and found comfort in each other. Their bond grew stronger, and by 1969, they were married. Andrews became a stepmother to Edwards' children, and in the mid-1970s they adopted 2 daughters from Vietnam. Amy and Joanna. Professionally, they worked on 7 films together, including Victor Victoria 1982 and Sob 1981. Some projects struggled at the box office like Darling Lily, but their relationship remained strong. Andrews often said Edwards' humor balanced her out. They were married for 41 years until his passing in 2010. Even after his death, she called their marriage a true love story. As her personal life changed, so did her career. The 1980s brought new challenges in That's Life. 1986, she played a singer facing the possibility of cancer. The role hit close to home because around that time doctors found a lesion on her throat. The film explored aging, relationships, and fear of the unknown. That same year she starred in Duet for One, playing a famous violinist diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. The story was raw and emotional. It also gave her the chance to work with Liam Neeson, whose intense performance added to the film's depth. Both roles earned her Golden Globe nominations, proving she was more than just a musical star. By the 1990s, Andrews tried her hand at TV in 1992, when she played a TV star who moves to a small town after marrying a doctor on the sitcom Julie. The show, which Edwards directed, never found an audience and was cancelled after only 7 episodes. Andrews, who directed the show, had success in other areas. The Sound of Christmas 1987 by Julie Andrews won 5 Emmys in 1989. That same year, she reunited with Carol Burnett for Julie and Carol Together Again. That same year, she performed in Julie Andrews in Concert, which reminded everyone why she was a star. In 1993, after 30 years away from Broadway, she made a grand return with Putting It Together, a Stephen Sondheim review about relationships and regrets. There were only 59 shows of this small off-Broadway show, but it was a big comeback. 2 years later, she starred in Victor Victoria, a Broadway version of her 1982 film. She played Victoria Grant, a woman who pretended to be a man and performed as a female impersonator. The show was a huge hit, running for over 700 performances. That same year, Andrews was nominated for a Tony Award for Victor Victoria, but when she saw that she was the only cast member to be recognized, she made a brave decision. She turned down the nomination because she thought the whole cast deserved to be recognized. It was a rare event in Broadway history, but it showed what kind of person Andrews was. Julie Andrews returned to Disney after 37 years with The Princess Diaries in 2001. She played Queen Clarice Rinaldi, a royal grandmother helping her awkward granddaughter Anne Hathaway. Director Gary Marshall cast her without an audition because he knew she was perfect for the part. This was her first Disney movie since Mary Poppins in 1964, which won her an Oscar.